I'd like to thank everyone for coming. This is the Bendigo and Adelaide Bank strategic plan outline for the next 5 years, so from 2015 to 2019. The strategic plan overview. This strategic plan will shape the Bendigo and Adelaide Bank's direction over the next 5 years and covers a range of internal and external factors. Things that have been taken into consideration in this 5-year plan include the company's vision and mission statement to make sure they are relevant to what the company is trying to achieve over the next 5 years. The external environment that is affecting the company, including consumers, competition reforms, interest rates and technology. We've also had a look at key industry success factors and changes that are affecting the marketplace, regulations and legislation that will affect the banking industry over the coming years, along with our competitors and their strengths and weaknesses, our company's main customer base, along with joint ventures and subsidiary companies that are under the bank's control. We've also had a look at the internal company analysis has also been taken into consideration, including the economic and financial bottom line of the business, the environmental bottom line of the business, and steps that are being taken to reduce the impact the company has on the environment, along with the social bottom line. A thorough SWOT analysis has also been done to determine where the bank is succeeding and where the bank needs improvement. The bank's competitive advantage has also been looked at, along with the sustainability of the business into the future. Strategic goals and performance measures have also been looked at, and plans put in place on how profits and the customer base can be increased. We've looked at possible strategic options and selected which of these options will be viable over the next 5 years. An analysis of the chosen plan has also been covered, along with an implementation action plan, including priority ratings and implementation steps. So specific roles to staff members. To ensure the success of the strategic plan, staff will be delegated tasks and will be expected to implement the plans that have been put in place. Reviews of staff performance will be taken in their ability to effectively and efficiently implement tasks that have been given to them. Feedback will be required explaining why the plan is or is not working, if any changes to the plan need to be made, or if additional resources are required. The following strategies have been chosen and will be delegated to specific team members for implementation. So, expansion and growth of the core brands. This task will be headed up by the Executive Retail Manager and the Executive Risk Manager. The implementation steps for this plan are to identify key locations, identify if the selected locations are financially viable for the company, promote the expansion of core brands and new locations, increasing staff levels when new branches are opened, and increasing the ATM network across Australia. The expansion rate and costs will have to be carefully managed to ensure all new branches, increased staff numbers and additional ATMs are financially viable. Completion of this plan will be December 2019, with the target being an increase into the bank's overall customer base by 33%. We're also implementing a continuous improvement and training for staff. This task will be implemented by the Executive Change Manager and the Staff Training Manager. The task to be undertaken will be to identify weaknesses in the current staff training levels, identify new optimal training opportunities, present new training options to staff, along with gaining feedback by implementing training dates and plans to get feedback from staff after training to assess the quality of the training, assess improvements in staff performance. Success of this plan will be gauged by the higher staff retention, higher customer satisfaction, and improved operation efficiency overall. This task should be completed by December 2019 in its current form, but continuous staff improvement should be a permanent part of the company. We're also shifting towards digital and moving away from paper. This task is very important to the future of the bank and will be undertaken by the Business Supplies Manager, Procurement Manager and IT Manager. This task includes noting all current documentation that is only available in paper form, making all documentation available in digital form, to promote digital copies as a first choice to consumers, reduce the number of printers and photocopiers within the company, gradually increase the cost of paper statements for customers, and assess the savings over time. The aim is to reduce total paper usage by 75% over the next 5 years, and this should be completed by December 2019. A reduction in the number of printers and photocopiers that the company uses should also be reduced by 75% over the same time period. We're also going to be developing of online and smartphone services and e-banking. This task will be undertaken by the e-banking manager and IT manager, and the aim for this task will be to increase the 24/7 and online functionality for consumers and allow the ability to complete a majority of banking functions online. Steps that need to be put in place are a revision of the current e-banking services, the cost to implement new services and upgrade existing services, employ new IT specialists to develop and upgrade e-banking services, along with running trials of new systems and services before implementation and gaining feedback from customers before going live. This plan should be completed by December 2019, and the online services and functions should be actively promoted when released, with a focus on ease of use. We're also looking at bundling multiple products to increase attractiveness to customers, and this task will be headed up by the Finance Manager and Marketing Manager. Bundling options will need to be costed out before implementation to ensure viability, targeting existing customer base with promotions first, and then promote bundling options to try and attract new customers, along with assessing the cost versus new customer ratio and reporting if the promotion is being successful. This plan can be implemented quickly once initial costing has been done, and total implementation of all bundling options should be completed by December 2015. Once completed, regular assessments must be undertaken to ensure the viability and sustainability of the plan, to ensure that the costs involved in implementing the plan are offset by the additional customers gained. Issues that need to be considered when implementing new strategic plans. When implementing new strategic plans, there can be multiple issues with implementation and execution. Things that need to be considered are consumer acceptance of the direction of the company, having adequate funding and staff to implement these new plans and changes, cost versus advantage of the new plans. Even if the new plans are popular with customers, the cost and benefit to the company need to remain the key focus. What might be excellent for our customers may not necessarily be the best thing for the company financially. And making sure that all tasks are undertaken are legal and adhere to the banking guidelines that are set out by the government. Proper assessments need to be made before implementation to ensure the legality of all promotions and services that are going to be offered. Keeping in line with planning permits and working with local councils when looking to building or acquire new buildings. Ensuring case studies are done on the local communities first. There have been many cases of companies opening new franchises or branches in communities who do not actually want them to be there, so careful assessment will have to be made first to avoid any issues in these areas. Making mistakes with new locations and properties will be very costly and also damaging to the bank's brand. Making sure that all staff understand the goals that have been put in place and who is taking charge of each plan. Issues arise when people do not understand what is happening within the organisation, and everyone needs to be working with each other and pulling in the same direction. Risks associated with implementing the plan and risk reduction. When implementing new strategic plans, there are always risks involved that are unavoidable. The key thing here is for us to minimise the risk as much as we can without compromising the plans that are being put in place. The risks we face are consumer backlash. Keeping all customers happy can be an almost impossible task, and changing the way that they bank can upset and frustrate people. We need to reduce this from happening by continuously asking for consumer feedback on new product offerings. We also need to consider employee happiness. Our employees' happiness must also be considered as we run the risk of upsetting or losing existing staff members. Keeping staff informed of changes in their workplace and any new duties that are expected of them will be key. Alienating existing customers. When making changes or improving services, there's always the risk of alienating your existing customer base. While we want to expand our customer base and increase profits, maintaining our existing customers is also vital. There's also the risk of reduction in profits and revenue. Not all plans can be financially viable to a business 100% of the time. So new plans impose a financial risk that has to be carefully considered. We need to make sure the risks to benefit ratio is kept in check. And measuring the progress of the plan implementation, we can do this by measuring the progress in stages. Stage 1 will be a viability and feasibility study. How much will implementing the plan cost and what will be the potential benefit to the company? Setting smaller goals within the main goals or mini goals. Breaking down the overall goal and working on small segments at a time. Being sure targets and deadlines are met. If we are unable to meet deadlines, assessments need to be made to find out why. We need to look at the response from customers. How are they reacting to the new things that are being put in place? Assessing what type of strain is being put on existing staff members. Are the new plans that are being put into place increasing stress with staff members? And keeping communication lines open with all staff members who are involved in the change in new plans, and assessing progress to make sure they keep on top of what's going on and find out if additional resources are required for successful plan implementation. We also need to keep key stakeholders informed of plan progress, which include shareholders, staff, government and the customers. We also may need to refine plans. Fine-tuning is usually required when implementing plan. Unexpected things happen and plans may need adjustment to be successful. So we'll be asking for feedback from customers, shareholders and obviously staff to ensure that the company is growing and will remain successful. So I'd like to thank everyone for their time and see if anyone has any questions.